Hello. Hi. Hello. Sorry. How are you? Welcome to today's show. I hope that you are doing good here. I'm taping this at the end of the week. I'm hanging in there. It's been a long week for a lot of people because it started with September 11th. There were these horrible tragedies in Libya and Morocco. The earthquake in Morocco, I believe, was last Friday night, but obviously Libya was, I believe, on Wednesday, and thousands of people have died, and then we're commemorating 9/11, and then obvious, normal, everyday cycle of news and things that are happening in your life, in your neck of the woods, in your heart and mind, and it led to, I think, a lot of drama and turmoil and negative energy out there this week, at least did for me. We talked about it at last night's hangout. I certainly wasn't alone, and there were 60 other folks that were there. They weren't all obviously feeling the same way, but I just pointed out to say we had a great time, and you missed out if you weren't there. You really should try to come to our Thursday night hangouts. A lot of new faces there this week and every week, a lot of old faces, and I don't mean old in the face. That's not what I meant. I meant old in my life, in your life. Some of you, we've been talking for years now. That's what I meant. Why are you taking that so personally? I'm the one who is looking old in the face. Look at this beard. It's going white, almost fully white. The point is, folks, it's a great day for Kelly Carlin. But yeah, if you missed the hangout, I figured out how to share it. It's been suggested that you wish you could be there, and even watching it on tape, a tape recorded hangout is still good, and it makes you feel happy, fights the lonely, reminds you of your community and your solidarity that you have here with us at Stand Up. So if you're not a subscriber, we're happy to have you listening to the show, but you're missing out on the community. And now you can watch the hangout on Zoom link the next day. If you're a subscriber, you should get that in today's email. There should be a link. If you have any problem watching it, let me know. I think I got it right, this old white-bearded technical genius. But we really did have a great time last night. John Carroll was there. He sang to us. We talked with Cauvin about his honey, which many of you have bought. It's delicious. And there's still honey available. It is so good and getting rave reviews. Send Cauvin some money for his honey, everybody. There is a link in the show notes. There's no excuse not to go support Cauvin and buy his honey. I am outraged that he hasn't sold out quicker. So please get on it. Click the link, buy the honey, support this awesome independent farmer in upstate New York who's a great friend and a fighter for civil and human rights, the environment, and so much more. Really great guy. But go buy his honey, give him some money. It's $20. Let's do this. And by the way, if you're one of the at least a dozen or more folks I know have bought that honey, I want you to make me a video testimonial of you holding the jar and saying what you use it for and why you like it. And then I'm going to put those all together and we're going to make an ad and we're going to sell more honey. I can't imagine something more pure to be involved in selling the labor of bees. And one man who means a lot to me, works really hard, super thoughtful guy. So send me those videos if you bought it. standupwithpete@gmail.com. I love to support the work and the projects and the art that this community creates all the time. A reminder to listen to our friend Barry Hummel's Pops on Hops podcast, a music review podcast that he does with his daughter, Abigail. If you're not listening to popsonhopspod.com, go check it out. Barry is so great. He was hilarious last night, as he often is. He's a very, very smart, funny, thoughtful, compassionate, supportive guy, and I'm always happy to support him. Of course, Matty Carlson's doing his Substack and podcast. He's cranking out some great stuff this week over at whatamimaking.substack.com. But now it's time to get to this podcast. This episode's guest, my friend Kelly Carlin. She's a thinker, a writer, a talker. She's hilarious. She's serious. She's silly. She's deep. She's uncensored. She's my friend. Kelly and I met when I was working on the comedy channels at SiriusXM in the comedy department, where she was also working hosting her show on Carlin's Corner, the George Carlin comedy channel. Of course, her dad is George Carlin, was, and, well, is. The guy is probably the most famous comedian of our time, arguably of, all of comedy, really. I mean, stand-up really only just started in most of our lifetimes, and so George Carlin, one of the greatest of all time. Kelly, of course, his daughter, and she is a brilliant genius and an amazing friend to me. She was there for me, as I remind her and talk a little bit about in this conversation, when I lost my gig at Sirius. And she's got a master's degree in psychology, and she's a practitioner of Zen Buddhism. And she's really found her voice in the world and been able to help so many people, including me, which is why I wanted to bring her on to talk about and sincerely and as authentically as possible promote and sell her workshop, which stand-up listeners are going to get a discount if they sign up for. It's called True Self, Identify Your Saboteurs, where you'll be walked through an assessment to identify the specific things in your life that are sabotaging you, keeping you from ease, joy, and achieving what you want. It's co-taught by Avery Russell with Kelly Carlin, and it begins September 19th, I believe. All the details to sign up, we talk all about it, are in the show notes, and you can obviously get there through Kelly Carlin's website. So check it all out. But let's get to it. I thought this was a great conversation about life, about the workshop, about her work, and it's always great to catch up with Kelly. She's been, like I said, an authentic, true friend and mentor to me. So I was really happy to talk to her, and I hope that you will go let her know that you heard her here, and I hope that you will enjoy and take something from this conversation, and I hope that some of you will consider signing up for this workshop. These are types of workshops are increasingly being sought after, and Kelly is so great. I'd love to see listeners have their lives be made better, improved, as she has mine through this workshop. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's do it right now with Kelly Carlin. 4, 3, 2... Kelly Carlin is back, and I am so happy to see you and talk to you.
You know, I feel like I get to come over and sit in your living room and hang out with you. Like when you and I get together, there's just comfort, friends, shooting the shit, and also, I don't know, getting really deep into things too, which I really love in conversations, as you know.
That's very nice. And I feel the same way. I think it might be because we've actually sat in living rooms and had that amazing connection and give and take and conversation. And then we sat in our own living rooms via these videos, and we've done it a lot. And then I've even, certainly called you. I've talked about openly in my depths of despair after losing my job. And you were so there for me, which is why I'm really excited I feel like I've got a lot of credibility promoting your work now, the True Self workshop, because you help me one-on-one. So I feel, but the question is, who do you think you are teaching this course? Why should anybody believe your credibility to teach this amazing workshop?
It's such a great question, Pete. And it's so funny because I was ironing my shirt, so I look like a semi-decent human being on here and not the hippie child that I am.
Thank you, by the way.
I was actually thinking about that. And it is such an interesting thing because I think I think over the years, I've figured it out and I feel more comfortable in my skin in this lane, but it is still, I always feel like I'm, bridging the gap always, right? Because so many people know me through being the daughter of and being a part of that world. And then there's other people who met me on social media because I do wisdom. I say something wise, or I put out a meme about something, or, that it's more around my spiritual and my psychological practice and training and point of view. And it's like, I want to tell people, it's like, you can go to many places to do some inner work, sort through your life, get some more clarity, get some more kind of skills to help you navigate the fucking mess outside of us and the mess inside of us, which we all have, including me. You can go to tons of places. I mean, you go on Instagram, you can, there's 25,000 people who are doing this to you. Come work with me. Which is great. And you should, if that's your thing.
Well, but should you? I mean, how do you know who to work with to better yourself, to work on your issues, your problems, whatever it is that, of course, a course like yours helps with? But I let me do it. Let me explain it, because you could go to 5 psychologists, you could go to psychiatrists, PhDs, you could be prescribed drugs, and some of them you'd like and some of them you might not. I went to 3 after I lost my job, but I didn't like any of them. But when I called you, I got more sound advice. and explained to me using a metaphor that really appealed to me. It really helped me. And the other part of it is people know you. The public knows your life, your story. You shared all of your everything in a book and on podcasts and on your own show. And so I don't know that when I go to meet a new therapist. Why do they have any credibility? Because they have a degree? I just think the idea of bettering yourself and this kind of idea of life coaching, as opposed to necessarily going to see a shrink one-on-one. But there's a lot of people who don't have the credibility, and you shouldn't talk to them. But I just feel like, based on what I said and based on what the entire public knows about what you've been so public about, you do. Yeah. And I am evidence that it works.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And, and I do have my own degrees too. I mean, that's the thing. I'm have my master's in psychology, counseling psychology. So I was trained to be someone who did sit across the room from someone who was in therapy. I decided not to go that route. I decided to get my certification in life coaching from a place called Coaches Training Institute, which are the people who are the gold standard of the industry. They're the ones who actually made standards. So you couldn't just call yourself a life coach, because anyone can call themselves a life coach.
Right. Yes, that's the problem.
Yeah. So I have training. I've been supervised. Eyes have been on me. I won't break anybody. I do a lot of self-management. That's the most important thing with anyone you work with, is that they're self-managing their own crap in the room. And, we're all humans. So some of our crap enters into the room. So there's that part of it. And, there's people I do not work with who really do need therapists, or who do need medication because they have a lot of trauma, or they have a very serious behavioral condition or something like that. And the work I do won't stick for them. It won't work for them because they can't self-manage themselves enough. So sometimes some people are in therapy and work with me because my stuff is deep work, because I am a Jungian psychologist. I was trained in Jungian psychology. I call myself a depth psychologist, which means I use the power of the imagination and the power of the unconscious to help you move out of your own way. I have an understanding that the unconscious runs 98% of who we are, and so that's my filter. That's my always my way of looking at it. So there's two things that happen in any of my programs, whether you're taking this True Self course that I'm launching at the end of this month on the 26th, or my True North course in the spring, or my year-long program, Humans on the Verge. The phrase I use for Humans on the Verge is go deep to take the leap. So there's the inner deep work you do, but also always in service of the leap. What do you want to move forward in your life? Do you want to change your relationships? Do you want to change your self-care and your ability to care for this body and mind? Or are you a creative and want to move your creativity forward? Are you a budding entrepreneur and want to build something, whatever it is? Or just you want to be a better, maybe you're an employee somewhere and you want to be a better, team member or a better CEO, whatever that is. And so both are important for me. Being and doing, these are the things that I've focused on for myself. And like you said, Pete, I had a lot of issues with my being for many years, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of confusion came from chaos. And I could never move into my doing because of that. And as I healed my inner, I was able to do more in the external, the outer world. And so that's why I'm really committed to this work and really passionate about it. And the thing that people get when they come into my rooms is kind of my number one come from, and if people know me through any medium, is being a human in front of people and being authentic. So I don't come in and I'm like, I am the perfect coach and I'm going to know exactly what to do and all that kind of stuff. I'm me. I say the word fuck a lot. And also I'm here to be in service of you. It's not about me. Right. It's about always the client, and so people who work with me give me permission to tell them hard truths. But I always do it with a big heart.
You do. I wish I could have. I can't say it any better than that in terms of how you communicate, I think, with people when you're trying to help. I mean, do you think that someone who is 40, 50, 60 or older that has been having a consistent struggle with anything from losing weight to feeling depressed or lonely or never enough or an imposter, whatever their struggle is, do you think that someone at a certain age, middle age, can really change that and then live maybe the last quarter, third, half of their life with, I'll say this, you choose whatever word you want, like more joy, less suffering, even though you're actually getting older, which I guess some people, a lot of research says actually people get happier in many ways, which is sometimes hard to believe. But do you think people can really change at that age and have a way better remainder of their life?
Not only do I think it, I know it. I've lived it. I mean, my life improved exponentially after I turned 40. I started living into actually who I wanted to be with the help of a lot of things. All of my clients, except for very, very few, are 40 and older. That's my ideal person to work with, because you've been through the right. proving yourself thing, or you've been through the traditional roles, husband, wife, mother, father, corporate champion, good worker, whatever it is. And you reach that really natural place of midlife, which is, you know, is that great Peggy Lee song, "Is this all there is, my friend? I should be dancing." Yes, we should be dancing, people. Because, you know, and now there's wisdom. You've lived 4 decades. You know, you're into your 5th decade, 6th decade, 7th decade. You've got fucking cred on the planet. And most of the time we're operating from all through life a map for ourselves and a map for our life that is based on a 5 to 10-year-old child's mind. The strategic mind that came online for us to learn how to navigate in the world, came on at that time inside of our family of origin, inside of our culture, inside of our institutions, church or school, and learned how to navigate. And it's great. It got us through. You know, we're still here, right? If you were alive and we're talking to each other, we're still here. But it is such an old map. It's like thinking you can get to the moon based on some sort of medieval middle age map of the universe with the dragons on the edge of the sea.
Yes, it's an old way of doing things. And it's
based on the most primitive part of your brain. It's based on the limbic system. It's based on the brainstem. It's based on the survival brain, which is here to keep us alive.
Right.
Hello, evolution. Thank you. But here's the bottom line. That part of our brain only knows how to motivate us through negative emotions. So it scares us, or it makes us angry, or it guilts us, or shames us, or it makes us insecure, that lovely imposter syndrome thing. And, you know, the bottom line is, yeah, we do okay. There's lots of success in the world and in your life based from that limbic system kind of operating system. But here's the thing, you can get achievement and success, but you'll most likely never, ever get real happiness. You'll never be able to take in the achievement or the success, and you'll never feel real ease and real joy.
Right.
Because that part of the brain lives on keeping you
right. like a scared squirrel or bird.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's kept us safe, which is fine. But, you know, the work I do overall in all of my stuff, and the work specifically we're going to do in this True Self course, is to help you activate the other part of your brain, which is that kind of mid-frontal cortex. It's the part of the brain that activates the empathic connection part of your brain. It's more right-brained than left-brained. And from there, you can make change in your life, get the success and the achievement you still want, like move things forward. But you also get to experience the joy and the ease and the happiness and a sense of purpose and a sense of meaning, which that other part of the brain will never offer you. And that's the other midlife thing, is meaning and purpose. Like that's the big
oh
question.
Yeah. Especially, well, I was going to say, especially just personally, your kids get older, your job transforms, your marriage transforms, and you're like,
your body starts transforming.
Not mine, but yeah, I've really only improved. But by transforming, you mean gets better and better? Oh, you're talking about me.
Yes, of course.
Yes, all of that.
You fully recognizing your 20-year-old body.
No, the body one is actually the best point, because if you are someone like me who is really active and your knee starts to flare up and you can't run or exercise, what does that do to your emotional quotient each and every day? Well, before we get to the specifics of your workshop, I want to go through some of the questions you ask and work on with you, because I think it'll be funny and really interesting, and best way to explain what you're doing. But my thing is this now, and you probably contributed to this at some point, whether directly or me reading your stuff. No matter what I learn in therapy or in a workshop like yours, no matter what questions I ask myself, whether they be hard or simple just to get to an answer, no matter whatever the work I'm doing, I feel like I'm really good at trying to learn and get better, and just as good at forgetting about what I just learned. The same problem just keeps coming back, and I know how to deal with it, and yet I keep getting triggered, and I have this emotional responses, which is the issue. I can't have that hard conversation no matter how much I work on wanting to be better, this and that. Dropping my own little specifics. So for me, no matter what I'm learning, I now have to, and this is my answer that I've had this breakthrough, I have to have this thing every day where I kind of go through it. Talk to me about how you accompany practice with what you're learning, or fill in the blanks with what I'm saying, because you can learn a thing, you can have a breakthrough in therapy, in a workshop, in a conversation with a person, and then, oh, it's gone. It went away. I thought I had improved, and now here I am again.
Yeah. It's such a great question, Pete, because, we all talk about this daily practice thing, and, they have all of these big, GQ articles or Inc. articles where it's like, what is the one thing that all the billionaires, all the CEOs have in common? And it's always a morning routine. So whether it's a meditation routine or some sort of pausing, some sort of reflection, and or some sort of movement type of thing, right? So there is something packed into that. That is. So consistency is important for this. Breakthroughs are amazing. And a lot of people get addicted to breakthroughs, and they take endless courses and workshops and read endless books and get endless certification because they love breakthroughs. Raising hand right here.
Feels good. Yeah.
But breakthroughs are great. But if it's 80% breakthrough and only 20% how you're going to stay in that mindset every day, then you ain't going to make any progress. If it's insight, yay, insight is here, but then you add this practice, which you could call like muscle memory or mental grit or even mental muscle, which is the thing of bringing awareness. So noticing I'm in this other state of mind.
Yep, huge.
Awareness first.
Which is, just to be clear, you probably said it so many times, like I always like to focus on that. I now, because of my meditation practice, they say this is what it does, and it does do this. I now am able to do what you just said.
Yes.
See that I'm having the thing. I see the thought. I see it. I see it there. Now, the next step you can pick up there, but I feel like it's such a big deal. And I'm like, I recognize that I'm frolicking in self-pity. I see it. There it is. Oh my God. And the other day when I did it, I made fun of myself, and I came up with a whole bit. It was really funny. I was like, oh my God, I'm there. Oh my God, do you feel bad? You feel really bad, don't you, little guy?
Because we go through the day and it's just hammering us. And we're like, why do I feel so hammered? Why do I feel so hammered? Why I was just so enthusiastic about my writing thing, and now I just want to go sleep for 8 hours a day, whatever it is.
And I had 8 Heinekens.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
But
so that daily thing of watching thoughts or watching sensations pays off immediately, because now you become the watcher. You become the witness, which is a huge skill I teach in all of my programs. The witness. You become the witness to these things.
Yeah.
Self-awareness, witness.
The audience.
Separate from thought, separate from sensation, feeling, mood, whatever it is. Oh, and look, if I really watch it during meditation, it comes in and then it goes. It's impermanent too. Another teaching of the Buddha.
Love it.
So there's the self-awareness piece. So the next piece that comes in is how, when you're meditating, you just kind of watch it go, right? Your whole thing is to just kind of be really loose with it and not hold on to it and let it go. But the other piece to learn is, how do we pivot? how do we pivot into the more positive space? What's the practice we use to do that? And doing the meditation is a pivoting exercise because we're moving from head to body, breath, head stuck in thought to witnessing thought, being present with it, being over here. We're shifting from thinking, feeling, which is that limbic system brain. It's the fight or flight, fawn or freeze brain, which is always on alert, to higher brain, more access to empathy, more access to curiosity, more access to higher brain thinking, seeing worldviews, all that kind of stuff. So you have to learn to pivot from one to the other. And that's the practice that we give you in these 8 weeks where we ask you to practice every day. And it's not like you have to sit down for 20 minutes. We're asking you to practice like 2 to 5 minutes a couple of times a day to learn how to do this shift, this move. And that's like the going to the gym for your ability. What the metaphor I use all the time in my work is it's who's driving the bus.
Right.
And so when the saboteur or the bad thought that you brought up, right, that whatever the thinking is, when that's driving the bus, being aware of like, oh, who's driving the bus? Yeah. Oh, asshole's driving the bus now, driving me off the fucking cliff here. How do I move that one out and take the seat and grab the steering wheel again? And so it's that action. And then once we're there, well, then where do you want to go? I mean, that's always the last question.
Yeah. Where do you want to go? But it's a hard route to get there. It sounds like the two wolves parable, the driving the bus metaphor, two wolves, like which wolf, are you letting drive the bus? The one that tells you, I can't remember the exact parable, but fear or joy.
Yeah, it's exactly, it's just a metaphor for the same thing. There's the kind of the higher self, the one that's got more resources, more resourced, and the lesser resourced one.
One is darkness and despair. The other is light and hope. Which wolf wins? Something like that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to use metaphors, but it's always the same for everybody in terms of who's at the wheel, to use yours. Like, who's at the wheel most of the time? Which narrative are you writing for yourself? That's another thing I found myself doing. When I see my thoughts, I'm like, wow, I really wrote a story there.
Yes.
And I realize, especially when it's my, issues I'm having with other people or, my life, it's like, well, that's just my story. And it's probably not even that good. It's pretty obvious. And it could be a completely different story for, somebody else on the other end of what I thought was my intention. And you get stuck with your own stupid, hacky narrative. I do, at least.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the great part of this work, too, is that so much of what happens in our life is through relationships. A lot of people talk about their self-care, which is important, and what they want to put out into the world, which is important. But being in relationships, we are operating from a pretty blindsided place most of the time. All of our inner family dynamic stuff comes in. And if we can, the bringing, once again, making that shift to the higher thinking, to the more grounded self, part of that shift is to really be in connection and to empathize. So empathize with yourself, but also empathize with the other person. And, just to kind of broaden this out to the culture, this is something we've completely lost the ability to do through in our communities, because our only communities are now these online places where our lower brain is activated constantly through dopamine and all sorts of brain chemicals, because the algorithms are set up to put you in that lower brain so that you click again. Yeah. So that lower brain is the one who's trolling. That lower brain is the one who's taking down the troll, and that lower brain is the one who's dehumanizing the person on the other side of the news story or whatever it is. And because we don't have a lot of community sense anymore, all the bowling leagues went away 30 years ago or 20 years ago, there was a whole book written about this.
I did not know that. I was like, that's your go-to community, bowling leagues, which is, I'm sure, a huge thing and amazing thing to be a part of.
But it represents, and
sure.
a sociologist wrote this book about the bowling leagues, but represents the way in which church, bowling leagues,
softball league, whatever it is that you had that more traditional sense of community is gone. But I mean, like, that is such an important part of all of this, to have that community. And you started talking about that by just talking about the reactions to yourself that you get.
And the stories that we project onto our spouses, onto our friends, onto our kids, onto our colleagues. We decide how they are thinking about us. The imposter syndrome thing, or I'm a piece of shit, or whatever it is, or we're grievancing. We're doing a lot of grievance stuff. They'll never understand me. They don't get me. They're keeping me down. I mean, our whole culture right now runs on grievance storylines inside of our heads. Part of it's true. Yes, grain of salt. But then we blow it up into, all I know how to do is be the victim and have grievances. That
reminds me, I've got to do a live read for grievance storylines. Folks, are you pissed about something? Well, I've got someone to blame. Grievance storylines will help you realize it's everybody else's fault. GrievanceStorylines.com/standup. Kelly, this is really exciting. I'm excited talking to you always, but this 8-week course now started at the end of September, so September 26th.
Yeah.
It's called True Self, an 8-week course to discover your power to choose. And on the website, and I'll link to it in the show notes, there's a description of it. Why should you take this course? And I thought it would be a fun way to illustrate it, promote it, by you asking me these, which I've had very little time to think about. And I think most of them definitely apply to me, and probably a lot of people, but I'm gonna try. So are you ready for the lightning round, why you should take this course?
Yes.
Okay. And you can fill in anything. We can make it just be the conversation, but go ahead.
So Pete, why you should take this course? Maybe because you beat yourself up when you make a mistake?
Yes, I actually did that once physically last year. I actually punched the concrete floor until my knuckles bled. So I think yes to that one is for sure. Yeah.
Might you avoid difficult and awkward situations or conversations?
At first, I was going to say, no, I'm the guy who walks right into them for content, and I love it, and I love conflict. And then I realized, oh, wait, I do that especially with the people I'm closest with.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
So not with strangers. No, I'll walk up to somebody, anybody. But with the people that I'm closest with, yes, I don't like hard talks.
Yeah, or even the thing of, like, you really want the butter to be put back in the refrigerator, but God forbid you could ask for that from someone who lives in your house. Do you possibly get upset when others never notice all the nice things that you've done for them, Pete?
It's my one-man show. It's me putting up Post-its to people I've done things for close to me in my life. Yeah. And
you know what? Then you invite them in the audience and you call them out. Like that's the third act.
Oh, now we're talking. Yeah. I wonder if they'll all come to the show. Okay. Next.
How about finding joy in your accomplishments?
I struggled with this one. I don't know how to answer that. I think I find joy in my accomplishments, but I have never thought about that. So maybe, I don't know. I wonder why, I think that's probably true of a lot of people, but probably increasingly people feel like they're not accomplishing things too.
I mean, I can really speak to this myself because no matter what I ever, like even when I got my master's in psychology, it was like, okay, yeah, that's great. All right, what's the next thing? And it was always this next higher thing. And I didn't let myself really take in what I had done and how much I had wanted that 4 years earlier, and that now I have it. And it actually does mean something. And so there's a part of us that can't let us do that. It's like the hyperachiever. It's just about what's the next thing. It's like it's a dopamine hit addiction.
Right. Yeah, of course. Right. So the time between your degree and your Emmy, did you learn to enjoy the accomplishment of your Emmy?
Actually, Pete, I have to say that I have.
Great.
And I really, really did get to take the Emmy in a very, very powerful way.
You took it on a vacation, I think. to enjoy it. Just you and Emmy on a beach.
We toured together. Yeah.
Relax.
He brings joy and light to everyone.
Oh, he's gendered. Huh. Okay, next one.
Are you tired of doing everything because others don't do it right?
I've been that person at work. Yeah, not at home. I think my wife is that person at home, though. So
yeah. We call that the stickler. How about this one? This is a fun one for you people out there. This is my space. Are exhausted from always waiting for a disaster to happen.
Oof. Exhausted is such a perfect word because you're emotionally drained with worry and anxiety and concern.
Yeah, that's the hypervigilant part of that brain. It's always looking on the horizon for the next lion, tiger, or bear. What about not understanding why people need to involve their emotions when they make a decision?
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, it's kind of a real subtle one, and it's not for everybody, but for people who it is for, they get it.
Don't understand why people need to involve their emotions to make a decision. That's really interesting. See, even these questions make you think, how does that apply to me? And no, it does.
Yeah, and that's more of the person who really is a hyper rational, like is just overly rational and can't understand why people muddy things up with things like human emotion. Yeah. And interesting dynamic to be in a relationship when you're the hyper rational. And
that's not me. I'm very emotional about a lot of things, like even simple choices. I'll get like nostalgic or sentimental maybe, and then get emotional as a result.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like the Spock syndrome. It's the hyper rational, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I envy that. I'm sure we're talking about balance here because we don't want to be either. But I mean, I do envy to some extent being more rational and be able to. It's almost a maturity to me when I see people like that.
Well, and that mindfulness you were talking about, that watching the thoughts and the emotions now, that can help with that because we don't automatically jump into the storyline automatically.
Yeah.
Another one on the list here is, do you get caught up in the minutia and can't get anything really done?
I think I do. I think I do. I think I get caught up in the minutia at some point going, is this worth my time? What if it fails? Am I being efficient? Is this any good? Let me do it again. Let me fix that. I think I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but I do hope that the thing I'm doing is going to end up good. And then I get stuck probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know for me that like sometimes all I'll see is the 10,000 minutia that I have to do to get to where I want to go.
Right.
And then I just go back to bed because it's like, oh, that's way too many steps.
Yeah.
Instead of like one tiny minutia at a time is all we need to do. Or this one, can't seem to stick with one thing and wander off before what you started is accomplished or even really in momentum. I'm
pretty sure that I have my PhD in that. And if you know me, if you listen to podcasts, like I try new things all the time, or I don't stick to anything, or I can't do the promotional read the right way every time. And then if you see my lawn or my space or space that I've been in or near, you'll see things that got started and messes, and it really clutters my mind. And it is the thing about me that I think affects me in such a terrible way. It doesn't seem like a big deal, and it is a really big deal. Actually, it's really corrosive.
Yeah, and and the most extreme part of that is probably some brain chemicals and brain chemistry. People call it ADHD, and there's all that kind of stuff. But there is a way in which we are kind of distracted constantly. And there's some sort of storyline also about what happens if we are to stick to something and actually move it forward, because then there's the fear of failure. Because if I don't finish it, then I'll never really fail at it because no one will ever be able to see it. Oh
God, I never thought about that, but now I want to cry. But that discovery. Well,
that one's mine. That's why I can say it.
You can say any of these things, of course, but not because they're all yours, but because you've been studying this and teaching this for such a long time. I feel like going through these, by the way, You just mentioned ADHD or ADD. Like, it always annoys me, especially when adults that haven't been tested say, I have ADD. It's such a flippant way to dismiss something about themselves or one way or another. But I like when you don't use these labels of I'm depressed, I deal with anxiety, I am an emotional, all that stuff matters. Words matter, but they tell different people different things. And you don't know the scale of someone's depression. Are you can't get out of bed, you want to kill yourself? Or are you flat today and sad and just don't want, whatever it is. So when you ask a specific questions like this, when going through, I think it's so much more helpful to be like, yeah, that's me. I wander off in the middle of building an outdoor shower and then there's no door, and people don't love not having a door in a shower.
Right. Yeah. And that's, and it could be something that's distraction, or it is that what's the deeper story there? Like I said, it's like, what if I finish it? What does that mean then? Where emotionally do I go when I finish things? Maybe sometimes it's a little bit of loss or grief when we finish things. So I'm just avoiding feeling loss or grief, not even worried about really the actual finishing of the thing. It's just the emotional cost I end up feeling, which is temporary. And so learning to endure walking through that kind of downturn that happens after we accomplish something. It's a natural part of the process. So just always bringing curiosity to ourselves, instead of just, accepting it and going, oh, I'm just a fuck up, I never finish anything. Right. That's not helpful at all. And the last question I have is do you feel like no one understands you?
I don't, but I think most people do. I think I don't because I have a daily podcast. Because it would be pretty bad if I felt that way after 15 years or something. Like, certainly a lot of people I think understand me better than I understand myself even, but I don't think that that's common. I've lived my life like you have in a very public way. So whether I agree with how they understand me or not, they probably have a pretty good understanding of me, I think. But probably a lot of people don't, which is why that question matters.
Yeah, and I think part of the root of that is it can be a bit of a victim stance, but part of that is that we are not self-expressed. And so we keep ourselves to ourselves out of fill in the blank, fear of fill in the blank. But because we're not self-expressed, we're not letting people actually see our true selves. And therefore, then we walk around feeling misunderstood or unseen.
Right.
Because we are misunderstood and unseen. But we're doing the stopping. It's not the world's fault. Sometimes it is. Sometimes parents don't get us. Sometimes teachers don't get us. Sometimes the world does not get us. But let your freak flag fly. That's what we do these days. So there is sometimes higher stakes around this. You're a kid confused about your gender and there's no way your parents are ever going to understand. Right. That's a legitimate concern. But this other one is kind of a more subtle, I will never be understood kind of stance. Right. That keeps you locked in your little world, never doing the things that are locked inside of you. And I can relate to this because this was me until my mid-30s. I walked around with this person inside of me that just wanted to express, and she was terrified to do that. And so I felt always misunderstood and not quite seen. Yeah,
you are such a rare, like the daughter of I could see people not feeling like they're not understood when you're living in the shadow of someone as preeminent, legendary as your dad was. Like, I would be like, I can't imagine what that's like. Yeah, can't imagine. And not to mention that's of most people, but then adding that to you, it's just so. It must have been. I mean, you've talked about it so openly, and but you would be the expert there.
Yeah. It is definitely my path, and it is definitely a lot of what my memoir is about. Yeah. And then it's really a lot about why I started doing this work and creating these On the Verge programs. First, it was Women on the Verge, now Humans on the Verge, because I wanted to help people just become more self-expressed, self-loving and self-expressed. And, so that's really my lane ultimately. And on some level, we all have something inside of us that we're afraid to bring forward. You said it earlier, being able to have the awkward or difficult conversation with the loved ones in your house. You're fine on the street with the guy walking up the street and he's got the Trump t-shirt on or whatever it is. But that too is fear of being self-expressed and being seen. And so that sometimes we can feel lonely even inside of a good marriage or a healthy family, because there's some part of us that's still hidden, or maybe was, we had it online when we were an adolescent. Maybe we were a painter then or something like that. And we ended up going into biology. And now, we're kind of an age where we're a later phase of life, and this painter comes back inside of us and wants to explore. And we have to go explain to our spouse that I only want to teach part-time now because I have to paint this series of 10 paintings that are coming through me. That can be an awkward conversation, but one that we must have, because in the end, for me, it's always about when we sit on our deathbeds and we look back at our lives, did we live our life?
Yeah, were you alive or did you live?
Yes.
There's
wonderful.
a big difference in just existing and trying to make it through the day without losing it and finding actual joy and, God forbid, thriving at
yes. And sharing
period.
Gifts. We're all here to share something.
Yeah.
We're all part of the ecosystem, and every member of the ecosystem has a gift to offer to the space that the space needs. I really believe that. That's like my biggest worldview, is that we're all part of a niche, and the niche is the universe. And then you knock it down onto Earth, and then you knock it down into our species, and you knock it into your family or community or whatever it is. Each of those things are smaller and bigger niches, and we all have some way to participate.
That's so wonderful. And I hope people hear that and ask if they don't know what it is that they have, because there's a lot of people who don't realize that. And I'm telling you, if that's you, I see you and you do. I mean, for me, obviously, as you know, it's like my physicality, like my physical attractiveness, I think, more than anything else is what I have.
Well, we wouldn't know what to do without it, Pete.
Right. Like my anchorman, like looks and gravitas.
Yes, you bring the truth through grounded knowledge and wisdom.
Recently, I thought to myself, this is the truth now, that I was on CNN and a bunch of networks for a while. I even hosted a show. And I said to myself, I don't think objectively I'm good looking enough to anchor a show. So I must have been pretty smart in other ways. And I ended up feeling better about myself. I was like, yeah, I look like a gargoyle, but I was smart and funny enough to be like, that's how.
Well, you're the funny thing about that is that like, in the standard of anchoring, as my husband and I call it, it's the hair and teeth people, right? Hold on, I gotta unplug my phone.
Hair and teeth.
Yeah, it's all hair and teeth, right? Local news is hair and teeth. Hi, I've got perfect teeth and I've got a hairdo.
Yeah, well,
and I'm here to bring you whatever the hell we're saying. And that kind of changes a little bit, moving up but Brian Williams, hair and teeth, no matter what first, back in the day, Walter Cronkite, not so much hair and teeth.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just watching a video of, Kelly, I'll let you go, but I just got to tell you how great it is to talk with you. It always is. Whenever we talk, people love it. And I'm so happy to have you back here. I hope people listening will consider signing up for True Self. Anything else you want to say about it? You do co-teach it with, I guess.
I just want to say that it's 8 weeks, that it's like 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours a call, that you're going to get homework to do each week. So there's going to be a lot of accountability. You're actually going to grow that muscle between self-awareness and then pivoting. You're going to grow that. And they have actual studies that show after 6 to 8 weeks of doing the techniques we use, the part of the brain that I was talking about, the positive part of the brain, we'll call it, those neurons actually grow. And the negative part of the brains, those ones get a little smaller and a little darker in brain, like brain scan images and stuff like that. So you're going to change your brain over 8 weeks with us. We're going to have fun doing it. And we do some coaching during the call with the teaching. The communities I work with, the people who come into my calls are groovy, fun. amazing human beings. We're all from all over the country. Some people come from India. Some people come from Australia. God bless them in their time zone. And it's just a groovy thing. And like I said, you could get this in a couple of different places for sure. You probably do it on Insight Timer and all these other places. But if you want to come learn it from me and my team and my community with my fingerprints all over it, we would love to have you.
And it has my full-throated, wholehearted endorsement, and that's, or else obviously I wouldn't be talking to you. I don't know if I needed to say that, but I just wanted to wrap it up by saying that because you've been such a good friend and inspiration to me, and I feel really lucky to have ever been in your light, much less still in it. Thank you.
Oh, Pete, I adore you, and I'm so happy that you have found your feet on the ground and you're always doing the work in the world, which is keeping us connected and informed, and your curiosity leads us. And I'm always honored to be in this space with you. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak about this today. It's the most organic way I can talk about my work, and I really, really appreciate that.
Love it.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, we did it. Kelly Carlin, what did you think? I certainly hope you took something from that. I hope some of you will go sign up for the True Self workshop, and there's a special discount for listeners. She sent that to me after our conversation, and I'll include that for subscribers. If you're a patreon.com/Pete Dominick subscriber, you can sign up at a discounted rate. How about that? Actually, no, I should include that for everybody. I don't want to take a piece of that. Yeah, that's everybody. It's in the show links. Anybody that wants to sign up for True Self, you'll have to heard it mentioned here, and you'll get the special link and discounted rate. All right, that's all I've got for you today. I will have more over the weekend for sure from my trip to Iowa. Hoping to talk to Christian Finnegan if we can work that out. Got a conversation with comedian Todd Barry that I'm really excited to share, and so much more. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you're doing well, and I will be back soon in your AirPods, your earphones, your speakers, wherever you're listening to The Voice and the podcast, and I cannot thank you enough for it.
You gotta stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. Don't get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up, we got to reach up, and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not